I'm ready indeed. It is time to take a look at Spongebob Squarepants Cosmic Shake. Now, I'm a little bit of a lapsed fan when it comes to SpongeBob, so this animation style is a little bit weird to me, but I loved the SpongeBob games back in the day on the GameCube and the Game Boy, and Battle for Bikini Bottom came to Steam a couple years ago and it was great too. So let's see if this one holds up. We start off by immediately meeting all of the classic characters. You've got Squidward, Patrick, Karen is number 3, that's an interesting choice, but she's here too. Even the news reporter Fish, as well as Mr. Krabs and Plankton. The gang is really all here. While looking around, we stumble upon Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's invisible boatmobile. This is the only mention of them in this game, I think. They're not actually characters, so this is a little bit weird. We meet up with Sandy at her tree dome, and we learn that this game pretty much took the majority of things from Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is good because it's so iconic. The moveset like the spin attack and the glide are back in this game, as well as these weird little tikis. Their heads follow you when you walk around, man. It's good you can break them. After we finish up our tutorial, Sandy tells us that she's not super interested in our day trip we're going on, so we go to meet back up with Patrick, and we are on our way to Glove World, until we get to the 3 hours later screen. Classic. SpongeBob and Patrick have a great day at Glove World, but SpongeBob starts feeling a little bit down when he tries to make friends with the cool kids and they don't really like him. This is a little bit weird considering like everything else about SpongeBob's personality, but you know, maybe we'll address it. We won't. SpongeBob and Patrick happen to wander into a kind of magical pop-up shop run by a mermaid named Cassandra, and SpongeBob's eye catches on a little bubble wand in a container that Cassandra says can grant us any wish that we want. So obviously, that's what we need right now. SpongeBob and Patrick return home and immediately begin to start making their wishes, beginning with a wish that Patrick will go on the biggest balloon adventure of his life. That's sure something. We continue making wish after wish, things like I wish Squidward would be appreciated for his art, and I wish everyone will be able to see how talented Sandy is. Surely these things will have nothing to do with the story that's about to happen. The wishing continues as it seems like the whole town comes to gather around and watch these bubbles pop into existence. That is until Patrick notices that this bubble wand actually has a little bit of fine print to it. Well, as it turns out, this bubble wand we've been using is the property of King Neptune, not to be used by mortals, so when those bubbles start a-poppin', things don't go super well. A rift opens up and begins to suck in all of the characters that we know from the series, as well as a lot of the popular locations, including the Krusty Krab and our pineapple. The result for the people left in Bikini Bottom is a pretty broken down city covered in jelly. And, oh yeah, Patrick didn't get sucked into one of the portals, but he is a balloon now because, you know, we wished for him to go on a balloony adventure. Super cool stuff. This is actually pretty useful because now when we fall off of ledges and stuff, he can zip down and pick us up, so that is a little cool thing that they included. We walk by the tree dome and find that it has been destroyed and Sandy is nowhere to be seen. Patrick says that maybe this craziness is all one of her big experiments gone wrong. I don't know about you, but that kinda sounds like the plot of SpongeBob the Musical to me. The main enemy in this game are going to be these little slime guys. They come in all different forms, but the majority of them will just be the regular little soldiers. We also find that apparently Plankton managed to survive getting pulled into the rifts. That's kind of surprising, seemed like he would be a big boss level at some point. Luckily for us, we managed to meet back up with Cassandra, somebody who definitely has our best interests at heart and isn't going to betray us in the end. She tells us that there are a bunch of rifts scattered throughout Bikini Bottom, and the only way that we can get into them and bring our friends back is by putting on different costumes, and we can bring her jelly to get those costumes. Pretty simple exchange. We get our first costume as well as a magical bubble wand that we can use to transport people from the rifts back into the main world. And we earn our first achievement of the game, Dress Up, for getting our first costume. So without further ado, seems like a good time for us to hop into the first portal. You kind of get a hint at what the next level's going to be based on what costume Cassandra gives you, and this first level is no exception. We hop into a kind of Wild West themed world that is filled with jellyfish. And this level's actually a little interesting. We immediately land on a seahorse that we use to start one of the many little like racing auto-moving levels in the game. We're wandering through the desert trying to find a city called Manta Fe when we see a figure that looks suspiciously like Mrs. Puff. This is kind of a weird thing about this game. There are like alternate reality versions of the characters that we already know, but it kind of just feels like they're reusing the same cast over and over again, because they are, I guess. This game's structure is you pretty much get access to one new ability in every level, so the first one that we get is the bubble launcher that we can use to hit buttons or trap enemies sometimes. We make our way to Mrs. Puff's riding ranch, not to be confused with a boating school at all. Here we find our first collectible coin, an item that can be saved up to buy different tiers of cosmetic costumes. We meet back up with alternate reality Mrs. Puff, and we get confirmation that she definitely doesn't know who we are because she's not from our time. This gets a little bit, not confusing, but it's just weird that you're reusing the same characters over and over, not to a annoying degree, but there's definitely a lot of overlap. You'll meet several Squidwards, several Pearls. It's just a little bit weird, but, you know, it is what it is. They wanted to have so many levels, and, you know, this is a good way to do it with familiar, recognizable characters. Anyway, this Mrs. Puff tells us the only way we're gonna make it to Manta Fe is by mastering riding a seahorse. So I guess let's go ahead and do that now? Exploring a little bit more in this area also gives us our first golden spatula. These are a little bit different than Battle for Bikini Bottom. There is one per level in every level, and collecting them is really just for the achievement. Returning to Mrs. Puff, it's time for us to get our lesson in riding the seahorse. Now this is a little bit weird because we started this level out with riding a seahorse and we're just now getting the tutorial for it, but it's pretty simple. You're basically just moving in a straight line, and you can sometimes dash as well. When we get to the end of the course, we actually manage to get our license for piloting a seahorse. This is kind of a crazy accomplishment for SpongeBob, but unfortunately boatmobiles haven't been invented yet, so this license doesn't work. We use our new horsey friend to arrive in the city of Manta Fe, where we immediately make a little bit of our name for ourselves when we earn the achievement Wanted Sponge for hitting 25 NPCs. Oops. We meet up with the familiar-looking sheriff of Manta Fe, who warns us that there are bandits about. We're in desperate need of cactus juice here in Manta Fe, and there is a bandit that has taken over all of the supply lines and has completely cut the city off. So it's up to us to go investigate what's going on there. Leaving the city, we meet another familiar-looking stranger who happened to hear we were getting into the cactus juice game and says maybe we could get a little bit of a partnership going. We could work together and go collect the cactus juice, and he would only take 80% of the profits. Win-win. We earn the achievement Bamboozled by capturing an unaware enemy in one of our bubble gun shots. Pretty soon after that, we also earn the achievement Sponge Out of Harm's Way for killing a total of 50 enemies without taking any damage. After that, we get introduced to the newest enemy, the Jelly Breeding Machine, who will repeatedly spawn enemies until we manage to kill that original spawning enemy. This guy will be showing up a lot, and he is pretty annoying with all of his stun attacks. Here, we also earn the achievement Bubble the Trouble for bubbling 10 tartar jellies. We make our way down to what we think is going to be the end of this level and collect the final bit of cactus juice when the ground below us suddenly opens up and we fall down into a worm-shaped cavern. Rough stuff. We meet a friendly gold miner who will return us to the surface if we can go track down his golden tooth, so we'll go ahead and go do that. We won't get so granular into every other world in this game, but this first one was pretty fleshed out, so I figured why not. On our way down to find the tooth, we earn the achievement Is It a Plane, Is It a Pizza for gliding a total of 1,000 meters. Back on the surface, we once again take to the saddle and ride our seahorse in pursuit of a moving train. Now, why is this train moving away from us at such rapid speeds? Well, Mr. Krabs doesn't really want to go back to the world with all of this money he's making. We make an extremely daring leap onto the back of this moving train where we actually pretty nearly just get launched directly off the back, but we're once again in hot pursuit throughout this train. This is a pretty cool sequence. We manage to corner Mr. Krabs in the engine room, and the sheriff is ready to haul him back to jail, but we can't really let this happen. This is our real Mr. Krabs, so we go ahead and warp ourselves back to our original world. And the sheriff is none the wiser, I guess? We also earn the achievement Deputy for completing all of the main missions in Wild West Jellyfish Fields. Every time we bring someone back, the world gets a little bit more cleaned up. That's neat. Back in the real world, we earn the achievement Stunning Performance for pushing 50 enemies with the Jelly Maker's Roar. That wasn't really even us, that was kind of just his doing, but we'll take it. We also get access to a cool new bubble surfboard move. Don't think this one was in the last game. We return to Cassandra to get our next costume to enter the next world, and it is a familiar classic, the karate outfit. The next world is a pretty interesting start as well. We hop out of a limo and we seem to be on a red carpet premiere. We meet with the director's assistant Pearl, who tells us to get a move on in a major way. This level gives us our introduction to the big bathtub-wielding slime boss enemy. They're calling him the Dark Souls of SpongeBob game enemies, and he packs a pretty mean punch. I don't know why we were on a red carpet when it becomes pretty apparent that this movie is actually still being made when we meet the director Squid Van Hammerschmidt, who makes it pretty clear to us that we are the new action star that he's been looking for. This level also features the game's only left-to-right auto-scroller level. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just a little bit weird given everything else in the game. Kinda cool though. The weirdness with this level just keeps on going when we actually meet Cassandra in this level, and she gives us some encouragement to keep looking for Sandy. This is weird, she doesn't show up in any of the other levels. It seems like this level might have been worked on first or something, and they just didn't follow through with it. Weird. The director goes on to teach us about a cool karate kick move that we can use to hit balloons and open up gates and even take on enemies. And of course, when you get a new move, you also introduce a new enemy that can only be dealt with using that move. Some paparazzi have snuck onto the set, so of course we have to go out of our way to distract them by hitting some sick poses. We also play the mandatory in every children's game of Whack-A-Mole. We earn the achievement Boxing Champion for destroying a total of 1,000 tikis here as well. And what would a SpongeBob game be without a high-speed game of Subway Surfers? Our action movie continues with us climbing up to the top of some very high buildings where we earn the achievement The Way of the Sponge for already taking out 100 enemies using the karate kick. It's a pretty good move. We finally reach the dojo at the top of the level that we've been fighting our way towards this entire time, and who is hanging out there but Sandy? And it's actually our Sandy, not just the Sheriff Sandy from the last world. Sandy is prepared and ready to absolutely blow us to pieces with her army of henchmen, but thankfully the director saves us from that fate, saying that we really need a one-on-one showdown in the end. This boss fight is a pretty standard one-on-one karate showdown involving forcing Sandy to ride a giant wheel into a big pile of explosives when we can then karate kick her while she's down. Simple stuff, really. We defeat Sandy in combat, earning the achievement Movie Star for completing all of the missions in Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom. We take a little bit of a walk down the red carpet before we go ahead and warp Sandy back to our world as well. We return to Cassandra once again to get a cool pirate costume to head off into the next level. We hop through the portal and, surprising no one, we immediately land on a beach. But what was a little bit surprising is we start getting some of those bomb pies launched at us. A cool throwback, but a little scary. The basic plot of this level is the Flying Dutchman's ship has been commandeered by a gentleman named Admiral Prawn, a throwback to Battle for Bikini Bottom. So in order to get the Flying Dutchman's ship back, we need to explore the levels and find his missing socks, which we can then raise up on the mast poles of a bunch of different ships around the island, which will signify to his crew that it's time to make a move on the Admiral's ship. One thing about this game is you're going to need to backtrack through every level once you've unlocked all of the powers at the end. This isn't super unheard of, but it's kind of annoying for cases like this where it's literally just opening up to get one coin, not a cool mechanic. This level also features the only appearance of Larry the Lobster in this game. He got captured by some of the slime enemies who we take out to free him, and then we just warp him back to Bikini Bottom. No love for the Lobster Man, shocker. We also get access to another classic maneuver where we can spot hanging fish hooks nearby that we can swing off of. I accidentally wander into a corner where Slamville is performing a little solo song. I don't know about this, but we earn the achievement Music Enthusiast, so I'm not going to ask questions. Patrick tries to hit on a mermaid, and we get a pretty good reaction image out of that. I don't know why they kept doing this joke over and over again, where they get like creepy versions of the characters with a scream in the background, but they did. This game even features the My Leg guy. They couldn't get Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy in on this one, but at least we've got Fred, the My Leg guy. We earn the achievement King of Bubbles for bubbling 100 enemies. Nothing more exciting to say than that. Finally, we get towards the end of this level, and we manage to launch our way all the way onto the Flying Dutchman's ship, where we can try to take this back, as well as our pineapple that Admiral Prawn has taken as well. And this boss fight actually goes pretty well for us. We earn the achievement Volley King for returning 10 of the volley enemies' volleys back at them to kill them. We also managed to earn the achievement Return to Sender by defeating 5 of the jelly makers by knocking enemies into them, and we also here earn the achievement First Mate for completing all of the missions in Pirate Goo Lagoon. We fire the big cannon, which signals the Flying Dutchman's crew to descend on the ship, and we manage to take it back over. We return to the Bikini Bottom hub world, and we play a little burger flipping minigame. This game really loves to throw random little tasks at you in between doing your actual missions. We return to Cassandra and get our next costume, and it's a nice flower, so we're probably going to somewhere nice and sunny. Just kidding, we're going to Rock Bottom, where we can recreate the infamous candy bar bus scene. That is such a classic. Pretty early on in this level, we earn the achievement Spongebob Jelly Pants for collecting a total of 1,000 jellies throughout the course of the game. We continue venturing on, and we notice that some of the mysterious green slime that we've been following throughout the course of this level has a candy bar stuck in it. Of course, Patrick is the one to notice this, and he wants to eat it, but it's just a weird little thing to find, you know? This level features a little bit of trick-or-treating, which is nice and convenient given what time of year this video is releasing in, but as we knock on each of those doors, we earn the achievement Red and Shiny for hitting 50 buttons. We meet another alternate version of Mrs. Puff, who turns us into SpongeBob Snail Pants for a minute while we do a little snail race. Now, this is a little bit weird because there's no other snails on the track that we're actually racing, and also this is the only time in the game this costume comes up. Pretty weird. We meet up with yet another version of Sandy, who we help assemble this pretty interesting shadow diagram of the hash-slinging slasher in order to move deeper into the level. When we make it to the final area of this game, it becomes pretty apparent where all of that slime that we were seeing came from. Gary has actually been transformed into a giant snail from all of the candy that he's been eating, and now he's kind of taken control over all of the little snails, so obviously we need to do a little something about that. This is another pretty cool boss fight where you actually do a lot of stealth stuff where you are trying to avoid Gary's laser gaze, which will turn you into an ice block. Eventually we make our way all the way around the entire map, destroying all of the vending machines, cutting off Gary's candy access. We earn the achievement Scaredy Pants for completing all of the missions in Halloween Rock Bottom. Now, Gary is still a little bit big, but we need to go ahead and take our opportunity while we have it and warp back to Bikini Bottom. Are you getting tired of this bit yet? I'm sure not. We return to Cassandra once again to get our next costume. This time we're going with the classic look, pulling the prehistoric Fred Flintstone out of the closet. This is another classic episode of SpongeBob. I owned this one on DVD back in the day. Let me know in the comments down below what your memories of this episode are. This is another level with a pretty interesting start. We begin with speaking between Patrick and SpongeBob, just with symbols though, there aren't actually words yet, but when we spawn into the real level, maybe I should have been focusing a little bit more and moving a little bit quicker. Turns out that the ceiling was kind of collapsing behind us, and we should have been running this whole time. This prehistoric level also introduces a kind of cool mechanic where you can roll on this little stone boulder thing all the way around town. You know, the pioneers used to ride these babies for miles, etc. But other than that, this level didn't really do that much to me. Seems like kind of a late stage development sort of thing where they were just kind of putting stuff in there. In the end of this level, while we're trying to actually rescue Squidward and bring him back to Bikini Bottom, our fight is against Pearl, or Pom Pom in this level, as she's known for some reason, I don't know, prehistoric stuff, I guess. This is a decently cool fight where we're spending a lot of time avoiding these little ground attack wave things. There's also a new enemy called the Burrower on this level. We use him to kill a total of 10 enemies to earn the achievement Jaws with Flaws. Once we successfully win the boss fight against Pom Pom, we can go ahead and free Prehistoric Squidward, where we earn the achievement for completing the main story in Prehistoric Kelp Forest. Another thing this game loves to do is once you've finished a new level, you will go out and find an NPC who has a little bit of a fetch quest for you. Now that fetch quest involves you going back into the level that you just completed to go collect some items that are scattered throughout the world for them. Another reason that you have to replay every level at least once. We meet up with Cassandra again to get yet another costume, this time the medieval jester costume, another DVD classic from back in the day. We do a little open world runaround in our new costume where we earn the achievement Jellyfish Hunter for catching a total of 50 jellyfish throughout the course of the game. We hop into the medieval level and shocker, it's once again a Pearl level. They really got a lot of traction out of Pearl in this game, weirdly enough. In this reality, Princess Pearl is throwing the biggest slumber party of all time, and she doesn't really want us to interrupt her, so she goes ahead and slams her window in our faces. Unfortunately though, this causes us to drop the bubble wand and it gets broken into a bunch of pieces, so now we need to go collect all of those. We hop down straight below us to find the first piece of the bubble wand, and we also find ourselves in a maze. Now this maze isn't super complicated, obviously it's a children's game, but I love me a maze. While exploring the maze, we trick one of the bathtub-wielding brutes into killing 25 of his allies to earn the achievement Wrath Tub. We make our way around to another entrance to the castle where we once again find a version of Squidward called Squidnote who doesn't want to let us into the keep because it's against Pearl's wishes. But we need to go fix the bubble wand anyway still, so we'll save that for later. Unfortunately for us though, in order to finish fixing the bubble wand, we need one more piece that was stolen by a nearby unicorn. That unicorn happens to be owned by the witch Twitchy, and she doesn't want to give us the piece back unless we do something for her. So now we need to go find some aging cream to help her out. And we get another one of those lovely zoom in shots. Collecting the cream is actually not a super difficult task, and we manage to achieve it pretty quickly. And we learn what that mouth do when Twitchy goes ahead and fixes our wand right up for us. With the repaired wand in hand, we go ahead and head back to the castle. But luckily for us, Squidward is no longer working the gate, but we would have been let in anyway because Pearl is looking for a royal band to fill in at the slumber party. I guess we can give it a shot. And to prove that we know how to carry a tune, we play another children's game classic, a quick game of a nice easy Simon Says. Once we've proven ourselves, we get access to the castle and we enter the sleeping quarters. We don't really get an answer for why everything in here is flooded, I don't think. I mean, I guess we're always underwater all the time, but this is a little bit excessive. We arrive back to Princess Pearl and we learn that all of the wait staff has been scared away by these slime monsters that have been attacking her party. And without them, the cake isn't going to get served, so that's going to be our little task at the end here. We start operating the oven and passing out some of the cakes to the party guests until Twitchy busts through the window and begins to try to fight us. This is a little bit weird because we don't get any explanation for why she's done this at all. She literally just laughs and then we're on our way trying to serve the cakes while she's spawning monsters. Weird, Twitchy, weird. Despite Twitchy's antics, we manage to serve all of the cake while we earn the achievement King of the Castle for completing this level. And now that Pearl's had her fun as the princess of the castle, we convince her to return to Bikini Bottom with us. Back in Bikini Bottom, I earn the achievement Spongeinator for destroying a total of 500 objects across the entire playthrough. We meet back up with Cassandra one final time to get our final level's costume, this time being a return to the very beginning of the game, a Glove World hat. Our entry into the next level is a little bit different than the last couple though. We actually need to inflate our glove with some pufferfish breath, which then Patrick absorbs and we float up into the sky to enter the portal. We float through the portal and we do manage to arrive in Glove World, but there's also something else going on here. Patrick seems to have disappeared, which is a little bit concerning since he's been with us the entire rest of the game. Things start to make a little bit more sense when we enter the Tunnel of Glove and find that there are a ton of pictures of SpongeBob and Patrick up on the walls, but SpongeBob has actually been replaced by the face of Glovey, the park's mascot. We take a pretty epic ride up a Ferris wheel, before we arrive at the Krusty Krab itself, where we find Glovey hanging out with our best bud Balloon Patrick, and our fears are confirmed. Patrick has in fact been kidnapped. Ever since we opened up the Cosmic Rift, Glovey has been trapped here with a bunch of people in his theme park, and they have grown to hate him. And now he wants to take that out on us by stealing Patrick. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense with every other world that we've been in, but whatever. Glovey wants a fight, and it's a fight we're gonna give him. In this boss fight, it's actually pretty cool as well. This game really did a good job with its boss fights. We now have access to this kinda leaf blower sucker thing that we can use to grab up enemies that we can then launch up to hit Glovey and move through the phases of the boss fight. Like most boss fights in this game, we move through the 3 different stages of the fight, and when we hit Glovey the 3rd time, we earn the achievement Ride Rider for completing all the main missions in Jelly Glove World. And now we've actually managed to retrieve Patrick, and we even teach Glovey a little lesson about the power of friendship. We're not bringing this weirdo back to Bikini Bottom with us though. You can forget that. We return to Cassandra one final time to report back that we have finished all of the main levels in the game and collected all of the jelly. Unfortunately though, this is right when King Neptune appears and warns us that if Cassandra gets too much power, she will be virtually unstoppable. But we already gave her the jelly, so she is actually strong enough to go ahead and neutralize King Neptune right now. Uh-oh. Squidward wanders by and Cassandra decides that he is actually going to be the being that she will transform with all of her new slime power to take over Bikini Bottom with. So now we go into final boss fight mode against Cassandra and Mega Squidward. This is another pretty good boss fight with his tentacles smashing the ground to form these concentric rings that will slowly spiral out and we need to avoid and jump over. Again, pretty impressed with the boss fights in this game. Once we win the final fight against Squidward, we earn the achievement Local Hero for saving Bikini Bottom and Tentacle Dodger for not getting hit by any of Jelly Squidward's tentacles during the boss fight. Cassandra gets sucked up into a portal never to be heard from again, and Squidward gets transformed back into regular old Squidward. And now that we've managed to solve all of the problems, King Neptune agrees to grant us one final wish. A little bit weird considering we started all of this in the first place, but we'll take it. Unfortunately though, that wish kinda gets wasted when Patrick returns and wishes that we could do it all over again because he had so much fun. This resets the world a little bit, which is actually kind of fortunate for us because we have a lot more achievements to get. We earn our first achievement, Spring Cleaning, for sucking in a total of 100 enemies using the Reef Blower. After that, we begin the long process of replaying pretty much every level in the game to go back through and collect all of the coins that we missed, the golden spatulas that we happen to miss, as well as the new collectibles. We also missed out on some pretty cool side characters, such as Squidward's character in the first world called Jeff Tentacles Jr. I mean, how could we miss that? Much like the Squidward boss fight at the end of the game, pretty much every boss fight in the game has its own achievement tied to it with completing some sort of challenge run. For the first level's boss fight, we need to complete the chase with Mr. Krabs in under 3 minutes. Once you know what you're doing, this is pretty easy to complete, and at the end we earn the achievement The Good, the Bad, and the Krabby. I would definitely say that the hardest of the boss achievements in the game is definitely Karate King that you get by winning the Sandy boss fight without getting hit. I got hit by these little green suited charging guys over and over again right at the end of the fight, and I just could not get things right. But eventually, after enough attempts, we do manage to take Sandy out and we earn another achievement. We also knock the super challenging achievement Beach Spinster out of the way when we return to the beach level and get 6 separate beach umbrellas spinning at the same time. This is insane stuff. We also return to get that coin that I was complaining about earlier in the game where we were just missing a power to collect it. Yep, that was definitely worth it. Huge sense of satisfaction waiting this long. Also on the beach, we earn the achievement Friendly Fire by convincing one of the projectile shooting slimes to kill his big bathtub wielding friend. The final beach level based achievement is called Deck Scrubber, and it's for reclaiming the Dutchman's ship within 5 minutes of entering the boss fight. This was again pretty easy once you know the general route that you need to go to, and it's basically just taking out enemies as fast as you can, so that's no big deal with our experience at this point. We return to the giant King Gary boss fight as well, and this achievement definitely could have been done the first time around if I would have just taken things a little bit slower. We earn the achievement Pet You Didn't See That Coming for managing to to complete the level without ever getting fully spotted by Gary. Returning to my beloved maze, I earned the achievement Hazardous for defeating 25 of the Ninjellies using only environmental hazards. We return to Glove World and complete a little side quest for Glovey and unlock the Rainbow Spongebob skin. Now, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is exactly what my mom was warning me about in like 2005. Back in the Tunnel of Glove, the one golden spatula that I missed on our first trip through the game was hidden behind one of the pictures of Patrick and Glovey, and once we grabbed that, we earned the achievement Sponge Lock Holmes Pants. I kinda started doing things a little bit funky and out of order at this point, and I went ahead and collected all of the new collectibles through all of the levels, and then I went ahead and turned everything back in. So doing this, we managed to convert Gary back to classic Gary form, and we have collected all of the coins at this point, which earns us the achievement Wanna See Me Do It Again. I actually died a couple times doing the Pom Pom boss fight the first time around, but when I was going for the Dehydrated achievement where we can't get hit at all, we actually managed to achieve it on our first try. Not bad. We also return and finish up the Twitchy boss fight without getting hit to earn the achievement Knight in Shining PJs. This is a little bit weird because we're actually allowed to get hit by Twitchy, but not any of the slime enemies that she spawns, which makes things definitely a lot easier. An achievement I definitely wasn't looking forward to completing was Bounce Bob, so I saved it for right until the end here. We need to bounce on a single trampoline 10 times in a row. This one is rough. The Glovey boss fight achievement actually doesn't really involve Glovey at all. Glovey shoots out this little slime stuff that sits on the ground that you can actually run the slime enemies into to kill them. So during that boss fight, we basically just sit on a trampoline, getting him to shoot the ground, and we can kill 20 of his pals to earn the achievement Splash Zone. So now at the end of the game, we are left with just one task remaining. We need to buy out all of the costumes in the shop that we unlocked by grabbing all of those coins. But unfortunately, despite doing everything in the game and being completely done at this point, I still needed about 5,000 more slimes. And the easiest way to farm those, it turns out, is to go hit a dumpster over and over again to grab 2 at a time. This was pretty boring and a little time consuming, so it seems like a good time to throw one of these in there.
2 hours later.
It didn't actually take that long, but you know, it kind of felt like 2 hours. Anyway, once we finally collected our 6,000 slime, we can go ahead and unlock all costumes to earn the achievement Fashion Hunter, and we get 1 sponge to rule them all for collecting all of the other awards. And now we have officially done everything in Spongebob Squarepants Cosmic Shake. So how did we do? I managed to complete Spongebob Squarepants Cosmic Shake in 12 hours. This is a little bit quicker than the average online based on how long to beat, so your mileage might vary a little bit. Overall, I thought this game was okay. I was definitely coming into this expecting another Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it doesn't quite live up to that. This game seems a little bit kinda dumbed down, I guess, maybe. It's definitely a children's game, so, you know, I can't blame it too much because, you know, maybe I'm a little bit more advanced than the target audience for this game, but still, that being said, I think that this was a pretty good game and a pretty fun experience overall, though some parts were a bit boring. The early levels of the game were definitely a lot more fleshed out than the later levels. Kinda some of those middle levels like Prehistoric Kelp Forest kind of felt a little empty compared to all of the stuff we were doing in the first level, but that's kind of expected with just the course of what game development is. I think my only other major gripe with this game would be the constant voice lines that SpongeBob and Patrick were saying. Even about an hour and a half into this game, I was a little bit tired of hearing Patrick ask what the jelly tastes like, or if he could try some, or what flavor we thought it was. But, you know, he's a companion. He's meant to be annoying. What can you say? Overall, I would give this game a soft thumbs up, I think. If you enjoyed SpongeBob, you would probably enjoy it, but I think that maybe in the future, I would think twice about giving another one of these games a play. Though, you know, let's be real, I probably will play it. I hope you enjoyed the video though, and as always, I hope you feel free to leave a comment down below, either talking about the game or any other games that you'd like to see me check out in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next week. See ya!